If you're going to graduate from Ross University, you're probably going to leave with a lot of student loan debt. Ross is a for-profit school that has two locations, St. Kitts and also now in Barbados, and they provide veterinary medicine degrees and also human medicine degrees, and you're going to get them at a very high price if you do go there. This school is kind of a little bit of a meat grinder in the sense that people go in there and maybe 50 to 60% of the people actually leave with a degree, according to the statistics I reviewed by the Department of Education. Ross got accredited and got access to federal student loan debt, which helped a little bit because people that used to go to Ross University had to take out private student loans that really crippled people with their budgets. It was very, very difficult because the high cost of the school compared with no flexibility with income-based repayment really damaged a lot of people's budgets. And I've seen that firsthand as a student loan consultant. Now, in today's dollars, I've seen people coming out of Ross Vet School owing around $390,000, and then the medical school, I've seen people with an average of around $490,000. The school itself reports figures in the low $300,000 range, both for the vet school and the med school. I would be a little skeptical of that because those numbers don't necessarily show the extremes. Of course, some people have parental help and they might pay a portion of the expenses out of pocket. They might have spouses that would cover a portion of the expense. But there's really a lot of different ways that you can get that average debt number down if you're trying to present a good face to the Department of Education that you really depend on for your student loans and for the success of a for-profit enterprise. It's trying to have very high costs to get a lot of profit. And that's really where Ross University is a little bit different from other schools. Other schools might say that they care about their not-for-profit mission, but still try to make a lot of money by having high tuition. And they might act like a for-profit, but at least technically they're not-for-profit enterprises. Ross University is traded on the New York Stock Exchange with their parent company. So make no mistake, Ross University exists to help students, but also to make a lot of money. And that's their primary goal. And if you're a student, then the number one way they're going to make money is through charging you a very high rate of tuition. So expect to owe a lot of money coming out of Ross University. Also, know this, that if you review the disclosures that the school makes to the Department of Education, around 55 to 60% of students in recent years have actually completed the program within 4 years, which is a little concerning. If you're going to go to school and take out a significant amount of debt, but then come out with no degree, even if it's only after 1 or 2 semesters, that's very troubling because you are basically taking out, a Mercedes level of debt without any earning potential coming back from that. And if you do graduate, you're going to have more debt than you'll be able to handle probably as a veterinarian without using an income-based program and a forgiveness strategy. If you're coming out of the med school, you will be able to use public service loan forgiveness, and you might be able to even refinance it and pay it down. In a lot of cases, people have come out of Ross University, they'll move kind of almost anywhere because they desperately wanted to be a physician, and you'll go somewhere in the middle of nowhere that happens to have high reimbursement rates and very high salaries and maybe lower living costs than a big city, and then I've seen physicians make as much as $500,000 or more coming out of Ross University. So, I would say the typical average is way, way lower than that. But I will say that coming out of the med school, I think it's possible to repay your debt if that's important to you. Coming out of the veterinary school, I think it's almost impossible to pay back Ross University student loan debt. So if you go to Ross, just be very aware that you're going to come out with a lot of loans and that you're going to have to work your tail off to make sure that you graduate. And I would really consider, if that's your only option, potentially taking a year off just to see if you can get in anywhere else, potentially in state, in the U.S. You'll probably feel better for it if you can, but if you are really, really determined to go get a veterinary medicine degree or get a medical degree, then Ross University is an okay option in the sense that they graduate competent people. Just be warned that there are a lot of financial challenges that I've seen graduates have.